Welcome to the Lara Jane Layton Show. This podcast is for you, the person who keeps putting others first. Your self-talk has held you back. You no longer need to take a second seat. Let's explore ways to overcome self-doubt. You can silence that inner bully voice and achieve your full potential. Here's your host, Lara Jane.
How that steered you into any certain direction and how you overcame or how you deal with still that voice that hits your head from those kids way back when talking to you. So give me an idea.
The voice comes all the time. So I deal with it on a constant basis. And how did it change my life? I believe that it changed my life in a couple of ways. The first way was when I was younger. I was very much people pleaser. When I was like in grade school, middle school, high school, and it's not that I think that a people pleaser is a bad thing. I think genuine, kind people that care about others before themselves can be a benefit. In my case, I didn't think about myself, and so once upon a time, I wound up in the hospital, and I didn't literally want to kill myself. I didn't want to be dead. I wanted to be around, but something changed that in that day that I think I was self-admitted, and on like the second or third day, one of the counselors, one of the psychologists was like, if you don't learn how to be selfish, you're going to end up right back here or dead. If you don't learn how to be selfish. And that blew my mind. So going to back up a little bit, in grade school, I was the smallest kid. I didn't feel, and I wasn't looked at as a smart kid. I was looked at as a weirdo because I just thought a little bit differently. I was interested in different things. I didn't get the same jokes that all the other kids got. And so I didn't want that hurt. So I pleased people. I didn't want the pain. I didn't want the confrontation. I couldn't handle it. Earlier on in my life, the way that I handled confrontation was fights. I beat up a lot of people. In second grade, I beat up 3 sixth graders. And I don't know why I was so strong or whatever, but I never had a problem physically taking care of it. But my brain, my emotions had a hard time. And so I started, in junior high, I started really just trying to never rock the boat and only be kind and only let people walk over me. And fast forward again, after a divorce, or after I was engaged and that got broken up, I was like, I'm not big into God or religion, but at the time I thought I prayed about it. And like, I got this feeling that this girl was supposed to be in my life forever. I got this feeling that it was right. And when she was trying to break it off, I didn't even know what to do. I was like, I don't know what to do. So I did run in front of a car intentionally, with the hope of getting hurt so bad that she would feel bad for me and then we would get back together. It was like my last hope. But like I said, in the hospital, from one of the counselors or psychologists or psychiatrists, I don't know which, they said, if you don't learn how to be selfish, you're going to end up back here or dead. And I freaked out. I was like, why would someone need to be selfish? Like, it was completely opposite from what I had learned, how I had thought that I was. I always wanted to give, and I would tease people, sure, but I always cared about the other person before me. And apparently that got me into the hospital. And so fast forward a little bit, I got out after a few days. I don't remember, whatever the minimum is that they make you go. It's like either 3 days or 7 days, but I did that. And at the end of it, I left and I said, I'm going to try to be selfish. I'm going to try to think of things that I want. And I'm going to try to put myself first, and I'm going to try to buy the things that I want first. And I did it to the wrong extent. I went way overboard. I put a lot of money into cars of mine that just to make them look good. And I think I started to develop some sort of ego. And in the way that I'm processing it, the way that I'm thinking about it now today, is that was both good and bad, both good and bad. Should I need to prove myself to anyone? No, I shouldn't. But B, has it allowed me to have a lifestyle that's beautiful, lots of time with my kids, not working hardly any hours, having a company that handles everything, being able to travel wherever I want, pretty much whenever I want, around my kids' schedule, having a strong relationship with others. These things happened because of that. But they also happened, if I'm being honest, because I felt like I had to prove myself to the world. Like if I'm not driving this car, if I'm not able to go on this vacation, then everybody, all those bullies were right. They were right about me. The teachers were right about me. The teacher that wanted to hold me back in kindergarten, the one that wanted to hold me back in first grade, the one that wanted to hold me back in second grade for the first time and won, the one that wanted me to get held back in second grade the second time and couldn't. And all of these teachers like that some of them, had great hearts and some of them believed in me. They just had their thought that I needed to try that again. I needed to practice again. So now I think I've got this ego that needs the success because I literally am going to cry. I feel like I need the success because if I don't, then they were just right the whole time, So that's kind of how I think it has affected me over these years. At this point, I'm really proud of where I am, and it hasn't become, but it's becoming less of an issue for me. Like I went to Cabo a couple of weeks ago, and I never posted anything about it. I never posted on the plane. I never posted when I landed. I never posted a beach. I never posted a cocktail. I never posted anything about it. And so I think that's, in my mind, progress, because some of the flashy, showy, I can travel whenever I want, comes from a place of proving, because I probably don't, I guess, feel like I'm there yet. So, I'm a work in progress. We'll start there.
I think we never, I shouldn't say that, because my whole goal is to help people to overcome that. But just like you, I deal with it every day. Every day I am working on it, and I am a master at getting better. I'm just not perfect. And I loved the story. I just definitely touched my heart in many, many places. But from that story, what can our listener get out of that? What can they do? What little thing is it? Be more selfish? Is that the key? Because I think we think it's selfish, but if we don't take care of ourselves, we don't have that cup to share with anybody else until we're full.
Yeah.
So it's not selfish. It's giving us the opportunity to help others. But out of the whole story, is that the most important thing you learned?
Let me give two things that are most important. The first and biggest is literally self-reflection.
Okay.
That is to hold yourself accountable, is to judge yourself the way you would others. In some ways that's better. In some ways that's worse. Some ways it's harsher. Some ways it's easier. But is to judge yourself the way that you would anyone else, and to critically think about it. The problem that I think I have struggled with, and your listener probably does as well, is that we don't want to admit that we're not perfect. So I'm impressed with you. A moment ago, you were like, I'm not perfect, but ultimately we don't want to admit that. We run away from our flaws. We hide them. That's why they're rarely on social media. Only the good stuff is on social media. So self-reflection, time to look at ourselves inwardly and try to determine where is this coming from. And a lot of times that takes a coach or a psychologist or a psychiatrist, someone like you, who we can speak with, talk to, and find these roots of where all of this comes from. So the first thing, be self-reflective, judge yourself, think about yourself, and be okay that you're not perfect. The second one would definitely be what you were saying, where it is, well, I don't remember what it was because I'm ADD and dyslexia, and that's why I got made fun of when I was a kid.
Fill your own cup.
Oh, yeah, exactly. So here's the thing. Like, I will share another quick story. I was doing real estate investing, and I grew a company into something where there was a lot of gross revenue coming in. But being ADD and dyslexia, I don't want to do all the work. That's why in my now business, I work 4 hours a week. But back then I was working 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, even 120 hours a week sometimes. And I had all of these business partners, and the company just wasn't able to sustain that many business partners. Mm-hmm. So we owned some number of apartment units that were impressive, 1,400 units. A lot of people just get blown away by that. We had that, but we weren't personally all doing that great. And I didn't want to share, to be honest, I didn't want to share all of that revenue with 16 people. I thought to myself, and this could be right, it could be wrong. And so if my ex-partner is listening right now, sorry, it could be right, it could be wrong. I felt like I was a big part of that company. I was the face of the company. I was the one raising all the money. I literally found every single deal. So why have 17 people splitting up the profits and I get a 17th of something where I'm probably doing half the work of the whole thing? I thought maybe I could just start it over. But the reason why I stayed with that partnership for so long is the selfish thing. I wanted to, I felt bad. I felt like it was a marriage. I felt like I wanted to be committed. I felt like I owed it to them. I felt like I brought them along to the ride. And now I had to suffer making, half or a third or a fifth of the amount of money personally as I could, because I was splitting it with so many partners. And I stayed in that for a long, long time, trying to get it to work for everybody.
Right.
Until I finally left. So I think the second one is to fill your own cup, which is what I now really, really try to focus on. Nobody's perfect at anything. And so I'm not trying to claim that I'm perfect at this, but I try to put my health first, my mental health, my physical health, challenges, growing, improving. And I try to focus on my business and serving clients and helping my employees. And when I do that, then that means that a lot of finances, a lot of gross revenue comes into the company. And when that happens, now I have the ability to have freedom of time. Now I have the ability to spend time with my kids and fill their cups. Now I have time to go and visit family. Now I have time and availability and money to donate. I bought a couple of houses for the poor in another country, and it was something that was just felt amazing. And it's interesting because when I was focused first on other people, only other people, I couldn't do as much for other people.
Mm-hmm. Right.
When I focused on putting my own mask first in the airplane before putting it on my kid, for example, I found that I had energy money, time. Now I can devote to volunteering. Now I can devote to paying for houses for people that I don't even know and I don't get a return on. And that became a huge thing because I have so much more available to me now that I can help a lot more people at a lot bigger scale and really focus on it and really feel good about it and never feel like, oh, I'm not sure if I should have spent that $12,000 to donate to that thing. That was a lot of money. And now it can be like, boom, I didn't need that. They need that. And I still have some.
I love the quote that's with more, I can do more. Like I can only touch so many people with a standard income. You get that additional income and all of a sudden you can touch so many people's lives and make such an impact that I love that. One of the things that you said, and I'm sure that our listener has that same thing, is that we are trying to prove ourselves. The reason I work long, hard hours was to get over what my sixth grade teacher told me I'd never amount to anything. And I'm still trying to prove that. And at one point, does it ever go away? There's one part of me that says, please don't, because I need the push. And another part of me goes, I need a rest. And so where's that balance? And I think it goes right back to the sentiment of shutting down that bully voice. We can use those for good. We don't have to listen to it all the time. And it's choosing our balance of when we let it drive us and when we shut it off. Yeah. So I love your story.
And honestly, if we are focused first on self-reflection at all times, then we can get a better understanding of how to use that bully voice or when to use it and if we need it and why are we really doing this? If we can take the time to really understand ourselves, hire somebody who can support us to get there. Pray if you pray, or meditate if you meditate. Yeah. And when we can really try to understand why, what makes us tick, which I think people avoid but when we do understand that, it can really be supportive of us to do things for the right reason or change our own behavior or thought process.
And for me, change the thought first, then the behavior changes. So we can't just change a behavior unless we figure out how to change the thought. In my head, maybe somebody else is more magical than I am, and they can just change the behavior. But I know that you were limited on time. Do I have time for another question?
Absolutely.
What brings, I know that you've talked about your time, you've talked about sharing and all the things that you've been able to accomplish with learning to be more selfish and to make sure you've taken care of yourself first. And I know that that's kind of, those two things are what you talked to the listener about. What would be the next beautiful step you could take on your journey?
Well, I would probably need to go back to something that happened in junior high. Mr. Brimhall had us memorize quotes. One of them was by Calvin Coolidge. It's the one that has stuck with me the most. And Mr. Brimhall believed Calvin Coolidge was right. And that's why he had us memorize it. And it was something about that nothing in the world will take the place of persistence. Talent will not. And he talked about why. He said genius will not, and he talked about why. He talked about education will not, and he goes through the reason why that doesn't overcome or is any better than persistence and determination. So I got my first tattoo. It is 3 symbols. One means persistence, one means determination, one means endless potential. And in my experience, most of us as humans, we try to do something once. If we fail, we say it was too hard, we quit. a very few amount of humans try it for 3 months straight. They really give it a go, they think. And when it fails after 3 months, then they say, all right, I gave it a real go, and then they quit. What I've learned over the course of my life is to really play into what Calvin Coolidge says in that quote, is that persistence and determination are omnipotent. They lead to endless potential. It doesn't matter how smart you are, or that you have ADD, or that you have a bully. It doesn't matter that you're learning and growing. It doesn't matter if you're black or white or Asian, or you're born in the US or the Philippines or Mexico or anywhere else. What matters is the thing that you want to do, the thing that you care about. If you never quit, my full belief, and Calvin Coolidge would agree, is that you will succeed. Other people just quit too fast. And so if there's something that the listener needs to take away, I'm hoping that it is, Adam got to 1,400 apartments, not because he's smarter than you, because I'm not because he's this or that, but because he just wouldn't take no. He was relentless. He knew what he wanted, and he knew that it would be frustrating. He knew that he would go without income for a little while, and all of that was okay. Every time you get punched and you get knocked down, you just get back up. And if that's your personality, you will definitely be successful.
I love it. Persistence, going to go on the top of my list. Staying power, rock on. No, I thank you so much for your wisdom. I'm very thankful for you. I know we've been friends for a long time, and I hope it stays that way forever. So let's go ahead and close out. Thank you, listener, for joining us today. Look forward to seeing you on the next episode.
Are you tired of waking up exhausted? You are not alone. If you're looking to take your life back, let's start with the simple step of adjusting your self-talk. Stay tuned for the next episode with your host, Laura Jane. Remember to follow the show so you don't miss a next simple step that you can use to feel more confident. And please leave an honest review.